Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I here recording Thursday, February 6th, after the Celtics loss to the Dallas Mavericks, 127-120 defeat at the hands of Dallas. Klay Thompson came in, turned back the clock a decade, and the Celtics couldn't get the job done. Came back from a road trip, picked up a loss at home, and yeah, they lost. They lost again.
It's Groundhog Day again. Celtics go out on the road, really impress everybody, play really great basketball. Even when they're not playing the sharpest basketball, they find a way to win. Today they come home, they humiliate themselves in front of the home fans, and it's become a trend. Sacramento, Houston, and now this. 3 straight homecoming games where they've just vomited on their shoes, not been good. I mean, this was a weird game because Dallas did play well. Like, you can't be like the Celtics just completely lost this. Like, they shit all over themselves or whatever you want to say. Like, the Mavs were good. Klay Thompson was a man possessed to start. He had 10 points before the first TV timeout. Like, he was on fire. The rest of the supporting cast for the Mavs was great. Spencer Dinwiddie had a tremendous game. Najee Marshall was good. Dante Exum was good. The Celtics still did a lot of things that shot themselves in the foot. I'm currently like trying to piece together what I want to say about this game for Celtics blog. And the thing that I have landed on is every single time the Celtics had a chance to try and shift the momentum, they just got in their own way. The best play that I remember from this was late in the third quarter. Like, they're kind of trying to fight back. They're down like 17. They just scored to cut it to that. Payton Pritchard blocks Kyrie or steals it, whatever you want to interpret the play as. It's listed as a block. Takes off in transition, then immediately gets the ball stolen from him. And then Dallas comes down, scores the ball. Like, they did the things, kind of, but they never finished it off or strung it together and did it to where they could actually make momentum of it.
Yeah, it was frustrating to watch unfold. I do definitely think this landed more on the Trey Murphy side of things than the Dylan Brooks side of things. If you catch my drift, like, this didn't feel like they were leaving Klay wide open. He made a bunch of shots because they let him, a la Dylan Brooks. It felt more like maybe they lost him a couple more times than they should have, and then he got hot, and then he wasn't missing, a la Trey Murphy. Like, it was the latter to me. And Sam Hauser didn't do a good enough job. Payton Pritchard didn't do good enough job. They were trying. It's not like they were just letting Klay Thompson shoot. They're not that foolish to let Klay Thompson, of all people, shoot the ball. But he got hot. He got red hot. Some of the threes Spencer Dinwiddie was making over Derek White were like, what the hell threes as well. Like, there was a big part of it. But the biggest thing for me is if the Celtics missed a shot, the Mavericks were going to score. And I wholly understand and acknowledge the reality that not making a shot makes it harder to play defense. It objectively does. It's harder to scramble. The other team can run. The person who missed the shot, especially if it's in the paint, which the Celtics missed a ton of layups in this game, which there's no excuse or fix for. It's just hit the layup. It's just make your layups. It's the only solution. When somebody misses a layup, they will be the last one back on defense, almost always, because their momentum is taking them in the wrong direction. And then they miss the layup and the team can run. But just because it's harder doesn't mean the Celtics should have an excuse to not get back and play good defense. And it's always going to be like a higher shooting percentage in transition for the other team because those are just easier buckets. But the number and the percentage of which possessions the Mavericks are scoring because the Celtics missed a shot and weren't able to get set was like past the point of, yeah, that's just kind of what happens. Like it was a trend. It's a problem. And it all stems from missing the layups. And again, just make the layups and the problem won't be as big of an issue. But the Celtics, whether it was them getting scrambled, whether it was one of them not being back in the play, whether it was them getting outrun, like it's been a trend this season. And the transition points were only like, I say only, it was 21-14. The game lost by 7. So like technically that's literally the game, but it wasn't everything in terms of, I think there were other things the Celtics did poorly, but that's something that stood out a lot to me, especially in the first half.
Yeah, listen, I agree with the missed layup sentiment. Like you said, the guy's literally like driving, flying to the basket, and then has to turn around and try and catch up to the rest of the guys in the game. But how many times have we sat here in the pressers and heard them be like, essentially, the shots aren't going, and what do you want out of us? And, you know, you kind of said it, like, just because you miss doesn't mean that you're not allowed to try and recover, or you're not allowed to try and play transition defense. It was just something in this game where they never got going. They clearly got frustrated at times. The offense sort of got lazy, where the shots just became forced, or the ball didn't move and it started to stick. I mean, truly, this feels like just one of those games. Like, if you play basketball, some days you just don't have it. The best team may not have it that day, and that's all right. It's part of it. But when you're getting dog walked the whole game, and then the guys on the end of the bench come in, by the way, and play against the starters for the Mavs, because for whatever
Shout out.
reason, to be honest with you, if you want my take, it's going to piss you off. I think Kyrie thought he wasn't playing well and wanted the numbers to look better at the end, so he has to stay in. That or kid was like, we want to send a message. We lost.
I'd be more on board if it was just Kyrie and not the entire starting lineup.
Yeah. I think Kid might have wanted to also send a message after, the Celtics beat the brakes off them in the finals and the trade happens, whatever. Plenty of theories. Point is, Dallas leaves the starters in. Joe Mazzulla pulls the starters, and then all of a sudden everything starts to work. All of a sudden the ball's moving and they're creating good looks in the paint and they're finishing them and they're hitting the offensive glass and they're actually getting stops. How is that just simply the ball bouncing the right way? It's not. And that's where the problem lies. And if you want to be like this as a flip the switch team, then more power to you, because it very well could be. We've seen them show up in spots. I mean, we saw them on Sunday in Philly come back from the dead. We saw them almost wire to wire beat the first place Cavs on, Tuesday? This was a game that they just never made a legitimate push before it was basically over. Like, the stay ready guys kind of just didn't have enough time. To be honest with you, they just ran out of time is what happened. And they were impressive. It was good to see good energy. The crowd loved it. The half of the arena that stayed and didn't leave, they got rewarded. And they saw great basketball, saw great energy. We were all like looking at each other up top here like, is this about to happen? Like, we all kind of believed like they might have a puncher's chance to come back, steal the game, and almost like send a message to the top guys and be like, seriously, how is it that those guys are able to figure something out that the starters couldn't figure out? What is the problem there?
I think part of it was they just had the energy. I think the starters had been beaten down so much and I don't know if it was dejected. And this isn't like saying that that's an acceptable thing that they should be. I just think that's what happened. I think they got dejected. I think they were lost, and the bench was like, all right, finally, we get our chance to fucking play. And they got pumped up about it. And I think that's a testament maybe to give these guys a few more looks in spots. Like if for nothing else, give the team a little bit of a jolt. Give a guy a chance who is not going through the doldrums of an 82 game season where you are inevitably going to get a little bored, especially with the All-Star break right in the corner. Give a guy a chance. Like, give him a cookie, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, give somebody a chance
Love a cookie
to play
right
a little bit. Banger. Give me a pregame Lamont cookie. But those guys did great, and I think they had the energy to do so, and it helped. And I think that's a big reason why they were able to do it, is because they were just, ready, eager for the opportunity. And that energy was something they used to push them forward. I think the turnovers hurt the Celtics too. I thought Jason and Jaylen were particularly turnover prone, especially when they got in the paint. That all fed into your topic of they puked all over themselves whenever they had a chance to turn up the energy. Pritchard was good. Hauser was good. That entire bench group was good. Mish Gator was 3-6. He was good. No complaints about any of those guys. It just felt like a very weird game. And I'll put it this way. This felt like a game that if it happened in the middle of last season, we would just brush off and not really talk about it and say they didn't have it tonight, like you said, like whatever. But the fact that it is now in line with a pretty rough little month stretch, it's going to be more of a talking point. Of all of the games they have lost this year, this isn't one that is like, oh my God, what the hell are you doing? It's hard for me to say that because I don't think the effort was there as much as it needed to be, but it's tough for me to sit here and like rail these guys for a game like this when we clearly see that they can do it when they want to 2 days ago. And maybe that's like backwards thinking. Maybe you should sit here and say, like, if you can do it against that team, do it every night. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just played. I don't care what Joe Mazzola was like. Oh, I don't think we played a complete game against Cavs. Shut up, Joe. Very painfully clearly, you played a more complete and better energized game against that Cavs team than you did in this game. Sure, there were some things you didn't do well in that Cleveland game, but there were far more in this game to make that little tiny sticking point. Like that's like saying actually in the class. Like no, Joe. Like the purpose of the point of the question that was being asked. Like the Cleveland was as close to a complete game as they've played all season, and this was vomit. And from that perspective, it makes me less worried about a game like this because I know they'll turn it on when they actually care, and they didn't care about this game. But at the same time, it's like, what the hell? Like we've seen that you could just do that. So why are you coming out here like this? And again, part of that is just it's almost the All-Star break. It's almost whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's just the little things that just catch up to them and spiral and snowball until it's Klay Thompson's got what 30 something. What did he finish with? See, I don't even know. He has a ridiculous. He only had 25, but he had 20 in like the first half. Yeah, whatever. But yeah.
So there's something to this too, where I just can never figure out why they can't get up for certain games. I'm not saying that they should feel the same way that the fans do, but the fans were fired up in this game. Like I thought this was a very good crowd at home today. And there have been times this season where I've turned to whoever it is, Jack, Justin, Bobby, Cam, whoever I'm sitting next to up top and been like, don't really think it's a great crowd today. People that were here today brought it. They booed Kyrie every time he touched the ball, which whether you think they should do it or not, they still gave energy, right? Like they brought out performance. They were like, we're going to come to play. I'm surprised the players don't really feed off that. I don't understand why completely. And it's clearly not something that matters that much because they're going on the road and body bagging teams. But you said it. Like, they can flip the switch when they want to. It's just weird that they didn't want to today. This is a finals rematch. This is on national television. It's against a team that's still, meant to be competitive. Like, as much as everyone clowned Dallas for the Luka thing, it's still ridiculous that they did it. They're still going to be a competitive team in the short term. Like, when Anthony Davis joins this team, you'd have to imagine that they're going to be a good defensive team. Like, they clearly gave the Celtics a hard time defensively today, even without him. They're going to be a competitive team in the West. I don't know how high in the standings they're going to rise, but they're going to be one of those nobody wants to see them in the playoffs teams. This is not a nothing game. This isn't the Toronto Raptors. I don't know how these guys don't really get excited for this stuff or come to play. And maybe it's just how the ball bounces at the beginning of the game where it's oh, maybe we just don't really have anything exciting going today. But at the same time, you look at the Cleveland game on Tuesday, they had 6 points in the first or 4 points in the first 6 minutes of the game. They could have very easily been oh, guess we can't make shots today, game over. But they didn't. Missoula talking to you, was it you or somebody else that was I think it was Gary, actually, who he was I don't really think we played a complete game against Cleveland. Well,
Gary.
That makes it even more impressive that they almost won wire to wire, don't you think? Because everything wasn't going their way. They weren't playing a perfect game, yet they still kept the Cavs in check, and they had no answer.
Yeah. Doubling back before we move on, and I know we disagree, so I don't want this to turn into a discussion, but I do want to make a point, and people aren't going to like this. Booing Kyrie is commenting "fuck you" on your ex's Instagram picture from 5 years ago while you're married with children. It's so cringe. It's so lame. The Celtics were better off that Kyrie left, i.e. it's like you and your toxic ex broke up 5 years ago, and now you are happily married with the love of your life, with kids, i.e. the Celtics winning a championship and being better off for them leaving. But you're still so caught up in it that you're going back to Instagram pictures 5 years ago, or all of their new Instagram pictures every time they post their new life on Instagram and saying fuck you. I think it's the cringiest thing. I think it's so lame. And I wholly understand and I get it. And I'm not going to if you choose to do that, all you I get it. I understand why people do it. But in my mind, that is what I connected to. And that is why I think it's so lame.
You don't want to argue about it, so I'm not really going to push back.
Sure.
For what it's worth, I didn't expect the reaction that he got today. I kind of thought the finals would be the end of it. That was the final boss. It was the big fuck you. They beat him, whatever. I liked it. I thought it was cool that they had the energy. I'm indifferent about it now. I don't know. I like spite, sure, but you do what you want. I'm more indifferent now.
If you want to do it, more power. I get it. Like I understand why people do it. He fucked over the franchise a little bit. He did, objectively. I understand people not like forgetting. I get it. But in my mind, that is how I see it. That is how I think of it, and that is why I don't like it. But again, if you want to do it, I 100% understand why. It's just that is my perspective on it. Regardless, Celtics in this game. I don't know. I don't know how else to analyze this game. Like they didn't have it. Do you understand what I mean?
It's a hard one to write for.
I know it's kind of awkward. Like part of it is like truly like their offense hurt the defense, not in that they weren't trying way, but like the Mavs just got out and ran and they went up against a scrambled defense. And part of it was holy shit, Klay Thompson's making everything. What the fuck? Like they said they blitzed him, they hedged, they changed up the coverages, they put Pritchard on him instead of Hauser, they put Derek White on him later, they put Jaylen on him in the third quarter. Like they tried. And then when they finally forced the ball out of his hands, Najee Marshall turned him to fucking Jamal Crawford, and as he tweened the legs floater in the lane. Like, so from those perspectives, it felt like shit. Hands up. What do you want us to do? But at the same time,
we would like you to make
the Celtics exactly make layups, better defensive pressure consistently throughout the game. Adjust quicker. Don't let Klay Thompson get hot to the point where it has to come to that. Like, there's so many little things that could have gone better before the avalanche started, and then once the avalanche started, it's almost like shit. Like, what do you want to do now?
I have a few points I'd like to make. One, the Celtics gave the Mavs a billion wide open paths to the basket, especially in that third quarter. It felt like every basket was just somebody getting an easy drive. Cam pointed out like they were really targeting Cornet off these picks. The Celtics have a pick problem. They get screened and they have no idea what the fuck to do. It's been a trend. Jack, how many times have we came after games on these pods and been like, hey, let's look at the film. And then we look and it's like somebody gets screened and the stadium pulse goes to the max. Like they're just like, oh, I have no idea who to cover now. Like, what do I do? And it was a problem today. Dallas took great advantage of it. The layups are like a trend. We talked about it against the Cavs afterwards. We made fun of Holiday for missing one. Derek White missed one. This is like a real thing. They miss layups all the time. They don't miss difficult ones. They miss the easy ones. Tatum set the tone while he Euro stepped and tried to dunk and didn't have the bounce to get over the rim in transition early in this game. And then everyone else was like, yeah, me too. Like, watch this. I'm just going to smoke easy ones at the rim. Missoula made a great point. It's very true. If you miss those layups, it is basically like a turnover. And I was looking at the box score after this game, and I truly like just the team totals. I was like, what was the big difference? Like the shooting numbers for the Celtics were efficient today. They shot over 50% from the field, 40% from three. Dallas had a very, very efficient day. They were probably 4 percentage points better than Boston. The turnovers were almost equal. The rebounds weren't egregiously different. The shot totals were similar. I think that's it. Like the Celtics gave up easier points by missing that many layups. And also, I think the Stay Ready group probably made that all look a little bit prettier at the end of the day.
Very true. The Stay Ready group deserves a ton of credit, and I feel like we didn't even talk about them enough, but we did talk about them. Like the energy those guys brought was incredible, and there's not much more to say about it, but like the number of words that can be said about it don't just like do justice to just how awesome they were in this game. So they deserve a ton of love, and more than we probably will end up giving them, because there's not much else to actually say about it. It's just like, holy shit, they're awesome. I would love to see, and I have no idea how to look it up. I'm not going to try now, and I don't even know if it's possible, how many of Dallas's buckets came after a Celtics miss versus a Celtics make. Because I would bet the percentage is super high, and
you would have to go through that entire play-by-play on the NBA.com and make tally marks.
I know. I'd have to do tally marks, but I mean, I can tell you their first few. Like, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but like 1 of 2, 2 of 3, 3 of 4. Like, I'm up to 3 of 4 immediately, and then 4 of 6. 6, like it's a lot of them. It's a very high percentage is the point I'm making. A lot of them came off turnovers too. They were just able to run it, even if it didn't count as a quote unquote fast break point. Like they just caught the Celtics defense in scrambled rotations, and then even when they were in the half court, it was rough for the Celtics. So just weird night. They're back on the road on Saturday. I don't think I'm going to be there for pre or post because I'm going out, but they're on the road, so that means they'll probably win. Hopefully, a little bounce back from there.
I need a win Saturday more than anything. I want to write about Grimacy. If they beat the Knicks, I can make fun of Grimace. I can say the Celtics have Grimace now. It's going to be so fun. Please win. Please, I wish I'd said it in the post game. I should have been like, please just win Saturday. We'll all forgive you, especially me.
Also, a small tidbit. I don't think this was the only reason that they lost, but I do think this was a game where you could see the absence of Drew Holiday. Like they just didn't have the defensive bodies to throw at some of these guys making shots. Seriously, you laugh, but like
I'm laughing because Drew Holiday was like not any of the things that went through my head. I was like, oh my God, Jack's about to say something like I would say. He's gonna have like some obscure thing that pissed him off that he's gonna blame the loss on.
No. But this was a game where I think the people who have been down on Drew Holiday's season should look at it and be like, okay, they need a little bit more defense. They need a little bit more on-ball pressure. For as much as he has struggled on offense, Drew Holiday definitely brings you that, and he sort of glues the defense together. So I do think you missed him. Also, we did Torrey Craig video, Scuffed in the Garden. If you'd like to see that, go check that out. I'm sure we'll talk more about it in the coming days. But
never done that before. Never done a breaking news video not in my house. Well, actually, that's not true.
Yeah.
Never done one at the arena.
I was going to say, like yesterday.
Yeah, literally the last one I was in my fucking car. Another thing from this game, it truly was just the worst night ever because afterwards the fire alarm was going off in here and the press conference got scuffed. Like Jaylen was in the hallway, could barely hear him talking. I mean, Brian Robb tweeted about it, was in the locker room. The alarm goes off. He's like, just how the night's going, I guess.
Scuffed. Just fully unbelievably scuffed.
Here's the main man, Mr. T.
He's coming up to you. Oh my God. I was in a different tab. I didn't see him.
How much longer are you going for?
We're wrapping up right now.
I forget that you switch out the tabs.
I do. I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling lazy and want to walk tonight. I might just get the tea so I don't have to walk as far. So I'll let you go. Thank you.
It smells like fire. Does it not?
I don't smell fire.
I think it smells burny. Sam, can you smell? Where are you?
I am in the Ford Sports Deck.
It smells not normal.
Well, thank you for the offer. I'll see you later.
I need to stop talking to people that don't have headphones on. I do it every time.
Yeah, that scared me. That really scared me because I was in a different tab. And
I just assumed you could see him.
No, I thought Chirp was like walking up. That scared me. Cool. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let us know what you think of Torrey Craig, the Mavs game, all that stuff. And I'll let Sam wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you subscribe. Leave a like, comment. Tell us what you thought of Celtics, Mavs. Tell us what you think of Torrey Craig. You can also hit the bell and subscribe because we're here every single day. New content drops at 5 a.m. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps like this one are up the morning after. Other videos are up on the channel to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. So make sure you do all the things I just said. We'd appreciate that. You can find us on Spotify and Apple too. All pods and recaps are up there. So if you just want the audio, those will be there. If you follow us, they'll go right to your feed. Leave a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that very, very much. It helps us find and reach more people. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. I'm sure you have something to say after the Celtics got their shit pushed into the Mavs. hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's just the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Twitter's Jack's Money NBA. Mine's at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us.
Taco, come on.
Taco's having some fun here.